And so we're just going to go right over into our other segment here. Start one, bench one, sell one. If you guys follow us on Twitter, we've kind of teased this sort of content with three like for like sort of players around the same price value. So both of us selected three players that all play the same position, or either a goalkeeper, defender, midfielder, or forward. We have not disclosed to the other person who those three players are, and each of us are going to have to go back and forth, decide who we're going to start, who we're going to bench, and who we're going to sell. Brian, do you want to hit me with mine first, or what do you want to do here?
No, you hit me. You gave me the first draft pick. You can put me on the hot seat first this time.
That's so kind of you. Okay, so we're gonna go strikers this week on start one, bench one, sell one. Okay,
all right.
All the guys are 7.5 mil to 8 mil.
Okay.
All three of these guys have been moved around in MLS, whether that's traded within the league this offseason or they left MLS and then come back. Okay.
Yep.
So we got Gyasi Zardes at 8 mil at home versus St. Louis. I'm very sorry.
Yeah.
Sergio Cordova at 8 mil at home versus his former team, RSL.
You said he's at
Adama,
8 mil too?
At 8 mil, yep. Adama Diomande at 7.5 mil. Back with his old head coach from LAFC, Bob Bradley, at DC United.
Ooh. That's actually... I think I'm going to go start Sergio Cordova.
Okay.
I think he just slots into a position where they anticipate that he is immediately a part of their production. I think I'm going to bench.
They brought him back from Augsburg. So
yeah,
and again,
right?
this is the revenge tour for Sergio Cordova. RSL didn't bring him back. They didn't show that they wanted to bring him back, and now he's at Vancouver, and of course they play RSL game one. I mean, that's a narrative if I've ever seen one.
It sets up perfectly, and Vancouver is just desperate for some striker production, so I think that also plays a big role. And and they're like Pedro Vite and Ryan Gauld are like they're looking to distribute to a striker like Cordova as well. So I think it just sets up perfectly for him. I would say I'm gonna bench Diomande, I think, on the road against DC. I think DC is I think there's going to be opportunity there he's got Insigne and Bernardeschi. I do think there's a chance that they take some goals away from him, but I like that price point at 7.5. That 7.5 turns, that second striker position. It makes it easier to get me a 9 mil at the second, that second option. Because I think I view them both as him and Zardes both the same, right? They're both on teams with goal scoring midfielders and wingers that really produce. Although, Fagundes can set up Zardes for some of those cheap tap-ins. So
Rigoni as well. Yeah.
But so can Insigne and so I think they're kind of in the same situation in a lot of ways. But I think that 0.5 sells it for me, because then that means I can get a 9.5, midfielder instead of a 9, or maybe even a 10. I can get Hani. That means maybe I get Hani, or I can double stack Bernardeschi at the 9.5 and still have Diomande at 7.5. So that 0.5 can come down to a pretty big deal in terms of who you can get on game day. And since I see them in pretty similar situations, because DC's totally capable of giving up goals at home.
Like 7 of them, yeah.
So just ask Philly.
Yeah.
So
and it's funny because Diomande wouldn't even have really been in this conversation about 3-4 days ago, because Jesus Jimenez in our eyes was probably seen as the starting striker in Toronto. They offloaded him, traded him for Brandon Cervania over to FC Dallas, and now it's kind of it's Dio's job to lose.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's also just that's what that trade tells me, is that Diomande now is a player of interest for sure. All right.
We read off all those stats on expansion teams earlier, and Gyasi's got an expansion team in week 1. They leak goals. So that's what I kind of found intriguing. I was like, oh, there's Gyasi. And I was like, you know what? Let me make this kind of what other strikers moved around the league. And then I think that was a pretty good one. And it was,
Yeah.
You made good decisions there, Brian.
Thanks. I tried. I think it could be either way, but for me, at this point, I'm looking at value, and I'm looking at that 0.5. I think it can really come down to that, especially early on when everybody's at 100 mil.
Yep.
All right. Are you ready?
I think so. Yeah, I got my pen and my paper ready, so I can write it down and look at it for a minute.
There you go. All right. So I'm doing defenders for you. I've got 3 fullbacks, right?
Oh boy. Okay.
So we've got. Obviously you have the 2 7.5s, at Wagner and Gressel. But if you're looking for maybe a better value, and you take a little bit of a step down from that 7.5.
So you're not giving me Wagner.
No. I'm sorry. This is my explanation. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm trying to say, but you have those 2 elite ones, but beneath them, you got a couple. You got a few at 7 mil. So I've got 3 fullbacks at 7 mil. That maybe some people might want to try to get a little bit more value out of that position, out of that premium defender, spot. So I've got 3 7 mils. I got Barreal from Cincinnati going up against Houston. We've got Pedro Santos going up against a leaky Toronto defense last year at home. And you've got John Token going up against Orlando City. Keeping John Token, I think, was really big for Red Bull, and they upgraded their striker position as well. So I've got those 3 fullbacks at 7 mil. Start, bench, sell.
Wow. That's a tough one.
Especially with what we just found out about Pedro Santos.
Yes. So that adds a different sort of wrinkle here, but because of that potential of him actually playing on the wing, he would actually be playing on the right wing. So that's Insigne's side. Insigne is not necessarily going to be a guy that's going to get back on him. So Pedro Santos could see some opportunities in the attacking third there and in the midfield. I think just because of that potential, you kind of have to go Pedro Santos. He could be higher up the pitch. And even if he's not, he showed at Columbus that he's a pretty high value, good left wing back. So I think Pedro Santos is a guy I start. I think New York Red Bulls and Orlando City is a pretty good matchup. John Tolkien is going to be matched up against Facundo Torres. I don't like that. I think Facundo is probably going to have them pinned back. Orlando City is more of a possession-oriented team than the New York Red Bulls are. New York Red Bulls are going to be trying to win those 50-50s and then break, and it's really hectic energy drink football. So I think Orlando City is going to have the possession. They're going to pin John Tolkien back. They're going to get opportunities. I love those guys. I drafted Facundo Torres and what's my guy's name? Ojeda. And then they also have Perea, Cara up top. Like they have a plethora of attacking options. I don't like this for John Tolkien. I rate John Tolkien highly. I don't think this is a fantasy week for John Tolkien. So I'm going to sell Tolkien and I'm going to bench Barreal. They play a 3-back, so he plays a wing back. So naturally he's higher up the pitch for Cincinnati. He has those attacking pieces. He's going to have, even if Brenner's not there, he's going to have 2 big bodies in the box, Vasquez, and then probably, I would assume it's Sergio Santos, Acosta feeding the ball out wide for him, playing him through. I think that, so I'm going to go Santos start without over-explaining. Santos start, Barreal bench, and then John Tolkien sell.
You found a way for me to maybe talk down FC Cincinnati a little bit by just talking up Pedro Santos. You found my way.
Yeah. And that's a thing when you think about MLS fantasy as well, as kind of matchups and tactics as well. Like we all think about this in numbers as well, but each team has its different tactics. And just thinking about those matchups and Pedro Santos being on Insigne's side, that could, Insigne is not going to get back and defend him quite as well. And then, like I said about Orlando, they're going to be the team that has the majority possession. New York is going to be a little bit pressed back. Tolkien's not going to be high up the pitch like he likes to be. So, but yeah, that was really good. I couldn't use price as a negotiating factor there for myself. I wasn't saving myself any money on any of those guys. So no, that was really good. I like that. That's a good little segment there, Brian. I like that.
That's solid. I really like that one too. It keeps us on our toes too. We had to think fast, so that was great.